will discuss the organized and unorganized sector labor. This topic is basically based on the unit 5 and 6 of CLD 101 course on political economy of labor in India. Before coming directly on the topic, I would like to give some background of the program of which these units or this topic constitutes an important part. Certificate program in labor and development has been designed and developed under joint collaboration of Indira Gandhi National Open University and V.V. Giri National Labour Institute, Noida. The basic entry qualification for this program is either the person who is interested to join this program should be 12th pass, 10 plus 2 pass, or 10th pass plus 2 years working experience in labor related field, or bachelor preparatory program from Indira Gandhi National Open University. The main target group of this program is functionaries of trade unions, functionaries of NGOs, or those who work in the labor ministry, labor commissioners departments, or who are social workers, rural educators, activists, or the students who have qualified or who have appeared in 12th level examination. This program is very useful for giving an edge in the employment job market, because you can be engaged or you can be employed in any of the organizations of trade unions, NGOs, labor ministries and all the departments. And recently in Madhya Pradesh government has notified an advertisement that in the various labor related projects, those students who have qualified this certificate program in labor development will be preferred. You might have been heard the term organized labor and unorganized labor. Let us know first what is the meaning or what is the concept of first of all organized sector, because generally people do not differentiate between the organized sector and organized labor. So, let me first explain what is the meaning of the organized sector. National Sample Survey Organization have defined organized sector as those all the establishment and enterprises who are public sector undertaking, joint sector undertakings or local bodies, irrespective of the number of persons they employ. Any number of persons is not any rider, number of persons may be 1, 2 or any number of people who are working, but if the organization or the establishment is government sector, that means public sector, joint sector or local bodies, they are put under the category of organized sector. Apart from that, there are private sector organizations also. They may be agriculture sector, plantation or many organizations whose the number of people who engage are more than 10. That means there are two parameter or criteria for defining the organized sector. One, if it is a government organization in any form, public sector, joint sector, local bodies, irrespective of the number of people they have employed, or those private sector organizations who employ more than 10 persons. This is a standard definition adopted by the National Sample Survey Organizations in collecting data for various purposes. Now the question arises, what is organized sector labor? All the organized sector, all the people who are employed in organized sector can easily be labeled as organized sector labor. However, nowadays in the wake of globalization and economic reforms, you may find a number of people who are apparently looking engaged or employed in the organized sector, still they are not organized, because they may be engaged as a contract persons, as a casual workers, as a daily wages workers. So, that set of workers who are not regular employee in the organized sector organizations, enterprises, they are not, they cannot be said as the organized sector labor. For our purpose, that is means the basic focus of this program is organizing the unorganized. So, from that perspective point of view, such people although engaged in the organized sector, but are not included in the category of organized sector labor. So, this is the basic concept of the organized sector aspect. I will first of all discuss peculiar features of organized sector. First is, what is the magnitude of the organized sector labor? We have come to know through the data provided by the National Sample Survey organizations that in India employment is predominantly unorganized or informal. That is, means more than 92.95% of the total workforce is engaged in the organized sector, and the remaining 7.05% people are engaged in the organized sector. If we broadly say that near about the total workforce in India is 39 crores people, 398 million rather we can say, out of this near about 370 million people are working in the unorganized sector, whereas in the organized sector only 2 crore people are engaged in the organized sector. So, this is the magnitude. What are the implications of this number that we will deliberate later on. And the more and more people are being now engaged or employed in the unorganized sector, that means the employment in the organized sector is shrinking, particularly after the economic reforms. That is one thing. Second thing is, if we say that wage and non-wage difference, there is a huge difference between wages of organized sector and unorganized sector. Their pay scales are regularly revised, they get the tierness allowances, they get a lot of perks like house building advance, house rent, medical benefits, terminal benefits, social security benefits, and so and so. Whereas their counterparts who are engaged in the unorganized sector are deprived of such type of facility. Their pay scales, or even they do not have any pay scales, rather they have their fixed salary, and though that fixed salary is not revised from time to time, they are not entitled to get any additional DA. They are also not get so many other benefits which are enjoyed by their friends in the organized sector. So, this is a very one of the important peculiar feature of the workers in the organized sector. And third is, they are very highly protected workers. The large number of labor legislations are there to protect their interests. For instance, they have the Industrial Disputes Act, they have Maternity Benefit Act, and so many other acts whose provisions protect their interests. They cannot be terminated or they cannot be retrenched in a way they are retrenched in the unorganized sector. So, they are highly protected workers. And then high rate of unionization. If we see that unionization, they are highly unionized, means they are the members of one or other trade unions, and those trade unions have their parent trade unions federations also. If anything is done towards them, any injustice, any unfair treatment is given to them, trade unions come forward to protect their interests, and that is why in any organized management quite vigilant. If anything is done towards a person of any trade union, then the trade union come forward to oppose or to protest the type of treatments. So, they are not only protected by the legislations, rather they are highly protected even by trade unions also. And then now I would come that after in the wake of globalization, particularly after economic reforms, they have also facing serious problems. There are certain issues and concerns which we would like to discuss here. The most important part is there is a song of the competition, higher productivity in the market, and the employers are putting the argument, since they have to face the competition at the global level, hence they have to resort the flexibility in the labor market, flexibility in the organizations. So, what they try to use 4 types of flexibility. One is labor market flexibility, another is structural flexibility, third is financial flexibility. I will give little by I will come little by little on each of these issues. One is labor market flexibility. Any employers ask them to rather they shift labor from the one plant to another plant, from one place to another place, from one section to another section, and even sometimes they changes their nature of job also, because they put the argument that now there is a need of the competition, technology is changing fastly, so hence we have to change their place of posting also. Sometimes they increase their numbers, sometimes they decrease their numbers, and then structure they also change the work configuration, and there is on financial flexibility also, because they basically target how to reduce the cost so that their efficiency or the per unit cost goes down. For that purpose they resort so many practices which are not very conducive in the interests of the workers. So this is one of the important implications of the globalization for the workers in the organized sector, that they are facing the various types of flexibility and which ultimately detrimental to their interests. So now what are the there are several implications for the globalization. I would like to come one by one on them. The first implication of this is that earlier immediately after independence, the government of India in fact adopted the philosophy of welfare state, and the philosophy of welfare state indicate that the state will protect the interests of the weaker sections. Labor was considered as the weaker sections, so government of India has enacted several legislations to protect the interests of the workers, and whenever there was a dispute between the employers, between the capital and labor, the state come forward, much their tilt was in favor of the labor. You can see the various labor conferences, the various decisions of the labor courts, where clear cutly till 70s or till even 70s government of India's approach was in the interests of the labor community. But if we see after 1980s, when this globalization process and economic reform process has predominantly come as a philosophy, as a new economic philosophy of the government of India, the change, the approach, the attitude of the state has changed. The attitude of the judiciary has also changed. There are the two very significant developments. For instance, whenever there is a strike, whenever there is a demand of the laborers, then the state says no, this is a time of the competition, the organizers' viability is the primary thing, productivity is the important thing, hence we have to make this change, that change. That is one. The more surprising thing, even the change in the approach of the judiciary. Judiciary, if we see the judgment made in the 1990s and after 90s onwards, the tilt or the shift has also gone little bit in favor of the employers. Now judiciary is also talking about the productivity, judiciary is also talking about the discipline, judiciary is also talking at various levels, talking about that labor has been protected much. So all these changes have taken place. We can cite even the example of the Tamil Nadu employees strike, right to strike, even that was a very hot issue, when the Honorable Supreme Court has also questioned the right to strike, and lot of debates went on over this issue. Similarly, even in one judgment it has been said that no judicial or no proper inquiry is needed for termination of a services. Even in one case, if any employee of any organization does not oblige the orders of their employers, they can also be terminated. So, all such type of developments categorically or clear cut indicate that now the approach or the attitudes of judiciary has also not very favorable towards the labor, because that is the thing. And then now we can see various studies have concluded or various studies have found now retrenchment, that means organizations on the plea of their viability or of the plea of their competitiveness easily retrench the labor, although there is a provision in the Industrial Disputes Act that those organizations who have more than 100 employees, they are required to take prior permission from the government for closure of their organizations or for retrenchment or anything else. But even then the various studies have undertaken that whenever the employer want to retrench a person, they retrench. There are various lacunae in the rules and laws, and taking the help of those things they easily retrench the people, and instead of regular persons now more and work, more people are engaged or appointed on contract basis. This is true even in the government organizations. Now various types of jobs which were earlier undertaken by the regular employees now are now being assigned to the people engaged on a contract basis. So even now efforts are also to change the, to make the amendment in the Contract Labour Acts. They are not given the proper benefits, proper uses, their working conditions are quite tough. So these various changes have are taking place in the organized sector. Unions position have also weakened, the membership has gone down, membership of all the central trade union organizations have gone down. The reason is that now since the strength of the regular employees is coming down and more people on persons on contract basis are engaged. So by virtue of the fear that if they join any union, they may be retrenched or they may be terminated or their term may not be extended, they are hesitant to become the members of the trade unions. So unions membership is going down. This is another implications of the reforms. And then new trends in collective bargaining. You know that collective bargaining, that means any decisions pertaining to the various policy matters are taken by collectively by the unions and the management, and that is possible only when the union is economically strength, workers are economically strength, socially powerful, and then they are protected by the various legislations. So now even the collective bargaining process is not benefiting even the workers, because such strict and tough conditions are put by the management on the name of the collective bargains, which is more in favor of the employers rather than the employees. So their collective bargaining process has also weakened. You can see the example of Maruti Udyog Limited. Before these economic reforms, the unions were very powerful and the various working conditions and wage and salaries were in favor of the employees, but later on due to the impact of these economic reforms, the union was de-recognized, and then a new union was formulated which was more pro employers, and then various working conditions, various perks, salaries cut down, and the employees under compulsion accepted the various fees on DAs and all that thing. So I would like to point out here is that this whole economic reform process has deteriorated or has weakened the strength of the workers even in the various collective agreements. Another thing is, if we see the picture of the industrial relations, there also we found that the workers are at a disadvantaged position, because in earlier strikes were the predominant in the industrial disputes. Now the proportion in the total industrial disputes of disputes are occurring due to lockouts rather than to the strikes. So the militancy of the employers have increased, and this is also another very serious setback or another very serious repercussion for the workers. And then emerging independent units at a plant level, this is also another thing. Now the employers do not want that employers at the trade unions at the industry level. They are preferring trade unions at the plant level because the collective strength of the plant level is weaker than the collective strength of the unions at the industry level. So, this is another implications of the economic reforms for the organized sector. Now, I would come on the unorganized sector, which is more issue or more objective of this CLD certificate program in labor and development. Let me explain what is the unorganized sector. Generally, there are various definitions, various concepts. Many people have defined this unorganized sector in a different manner depending upon their objectives and studies. Since our basically objective of this program is to organize the unorganized, so from organization point of view, we have defined the unorganized sector and unorganized labor. Those people who are working in unorganized sector, all such workers are put into the category of unorganized workers, and 2, those workers who are working in the organized sector but are not organized, that means all types of employees who are contract basis, casual, attached, those who do not have any regular status in the organized sector, all such people are covered under, also counted under the unorganized sector workers. Now, the question is why we have adopted such an approach? Because National Labour Commission, which submitted its report in 1969, also defined the unorganized worker in this way, that those who are not able to organize themselves due to the various hindrances, they are treated under the category, they can be treated under the category of unorganized sector labor. Various difficulties may be there, either because their nature of job is scattered, because they do not have any employer-employee relationship, because employer-employee relationship is very important phenomena for forming any organization or forming any union. So, or due to several other difficulties, if they are not able to organize to achieve the common objectives, they are known as the unorganized sector work. So, now after giving this definition of the unorganized sector labor, we would come to the various peculiar features of the unorganized sector labor. There are certain peculiar features which one has to keep in mind while discussing the issues and concerns of the unorganized sector labor. The first peculiar feature is this is a very heterogeneous category of workers. Heterogeneous categories of workers, we mean to say that their working conditions are different, their nature of employment is different, their employer relationship are different, their sectors are different, they are working in a very different periodicity is different. So, heterogeneous category. However, for the sake of the simplicity or for the sake of analysis, we can describe them into broadly 3 categories of workers. 1, self-employed workers or independent producers. Independent producers, they may be employers of petty producers, rather we can say petty producers, and 2, they may be own account workers, 3, they may be unpaid family workers. So, within the self-employed category there are 3 types of workers. 1, petty producers, service providers, those who are engaged in manufacturing or in various types of small type of petty jobs, and then own account workers, and then third is unpaid family workers. Then second category may be dependent producers. Dependent producers means nowadays many type of jobs of big firms are assigned to the persons and they take that job to their homes and manufacture or prepare that things and then they send it to the big employers. That means the whole final goods, small ancillary, they are sent to the people at the ancillary units level, and by means of subcontracting those jobs are done by the workers at their homes. That is why they are treated, they are known as home based workers. And the third category of workers are the basically wage workers. Wage workers may be either they may be casual workers, that means they do not have any fixed employer. Today they are working with one employer, another day they may change their employer, they may change their place, they may change even their work. They may, today they are working in the they are doing the agriculture operations, tomorrow they may go to the construction activity, for some time they may go to any other activity, dairy or any type of work, even they may pull the rickshaws, they may go to the shopkeepers. So, all types of, because change of work, because their work nature of work is not fixed, their place of work is not fixed, their employer is not fixed. So, these are known as the casual workers. And the second category of workers may be the continuous, they are engaged on continuous basis in the enterprises. That means they are some sort of regular category of workers, although they are not regular, their payment are not regular, their works are not regular, but their job is regular in the sense that they are not displaced frequently by the employers, yani continuously they work with one employer. So, they are for the our purpose, they are categorized as the regular workers. And the third category workers are domestic servants. For instance, there may be various maid servants at the houses, they may be regularly kept at their houses. So, these three categories of workers are there. So, now I have explained the whole unorganized sector workers can be put into three categories: A, independent producers, B, dependent producers, and C, wage employed workers. First two categories are self employed workers, second last category is the wage employed. Again within the wage employed there are three categories of workers, one is casual workers, other are regular workers, and the third are domestic servants. So, giving this categorization of the unorganized sector workers, I would again come to that their nature of work, their work is scattered. This has very serious implications in the further discussion. They are of heterogeneous categories, and the third is low collective bargaining. Suppose if he goes to an employer and if he has to bargain for his wages, he cannot dictate their term, he cannot say that I will not work below this wage, because he is not having any asset back, he is not having any economic strength, he is not having any organizational strength. So, these three weaknesses on his part, or due to these inherent weaknesses, he basically is dictated by the terms fixed by the employers. So, there is no collective bargaining, because collective bargaining question arises only when there is a question of plurality, when there is a question of organization, when they are organized, when they are large in number, because they individually bargain their wages. That is why their collective bargaining is very weak, very poor, rather we can say they do not have any collective bargaining as such. And then another thing is low level of unionization. I have already said that organizing the unorganized means they do not have any organizations. The difficulty or the more ironical situation is that they do not have any organization, they are not aware of even the benefits of the organization. Even if somebody talks about that we want to organize you, they say what is the use of it, why we should be organized, why should be sensitized. Even they do not listen to, are not willing to organize themselves. So, this is the inherent weakness, this is the disadvantage with them. They are not educated, they are not very trained people, they do not have any bargaining capacity in the market, their nature of job is scattered, they change their employers frequently, their jobs are of heterogeneous category. So, the essential conditions which are required to form a union, they do not have those conditions. So, that is why their organization is very poor, virtually they are not organized. If there are certain organizations, they are very insufficient, which do not help in making any policy matters. So, this is another peculiar feature of the unorganized sector workers. Another is this: they do not have any concrete employer employee relationship. I have already explained you that the first or the dominant or the largest number of the unorganized workers are the self employed workers. That means they do not have any employer. So, employer employee question arises only in respect of the wage employed workers when they are paid, when they are engaged, when they are employed by somebody else. If they are doing their own business, if they are running or owning or operating their own activities, then certainly question does not arise for having any employer employee relationship. This has a serious repercussion, severe implications for their organization related issues. So, I have explained now what are the peculiar features of the unorganized sector labor. Now, I would come on what are the issues and concerns of the unorganized sector labor. The first issue is recognition issue. You may see that the government has introduced several legislations, several acts for protecting the interests of the unorganized workers. These are Workmen's Compensation Act, Minimum Wages Act, Payment of Wages Act, Bonded Labour System Act, and so on. But the difficulty is that benefits or protection under these acts is only admissible, only one is entitled, any worker is entitled, provided it is established that he is a worker, he is an employee or worker or labor, whatever you can call it. Now, the thing is, they are not recognized as workers. If a person changes his employer from one day to another, third day on another one, he changes also nature of work, he also changes his place, then if any question of extending benefits or to the workers comes, he say he is not the worker. He is not the worker or he is not the labor within the definition of the act, then how we can extend those benefits? How he is entitled to have any benefit from us if he is not a worker? Because he is an uneducated person, he is not literate even, he is not having any knowledge of law, he is not having any organization behind him. So, he is at the mercy of the employer, he is at the mercy of the labor inspector. You know that enforcement of labor laws is very poor in India, particularly in the context of the corruption, when inspectors or any lower level bureaucracy easily float the laws, does not bother about the implementation of the labor laws. So, the first thing is, since he is not recognized as a worker, he is unable to avail the benefits under the various schemes and programs, he is not entitled to any protection provided for him in the various legislative acts. So, this is the major difficulty, major issue of concern, how we should provide him that he is recognized as a worker. Once he is recognized as a worker, then he can claim the benefits under the various schemes and programs, under the various labor laws. Now, the thing is, the question arises, what provisions should be made, what should be done so that he is recognized as a worker? I think Second National Labour Commission has provided rules and procedures, has suggested recommendations to how such type of people are recognized. I will not deliberate upon the issue because time is running short. However, because lot of things are covered, now the another issue is organization related issues. If once he is recognized, then he can also think of to form a union, because if a union is formed, then individually if his voice is not heard by the bureaucracy, by the employers, by the government, then certainly his collective voice they will not be able to ignore. So, another issue is to organize them, how to organize them, what are the various hurdles in organizing them, and what is the role of the trade unions, traditional trade union for trade unions, what is the role of the media, what is the role of the judiciary, what is the role of the state. I think these are the various serious issues upon which we will take up such type of this type of discussion in further teleconference session, because I have to cover other issues also. This is not the major issue of today's discussions. Certainly we would enlighten you about all these issues, because this is the primary concern of this whole program. And another implication or another serious issue of concern is income and employment security. We have seen that these unorganized sector employment is not secured. They may get employment in one day, they may not get another day, because the nature of the agriculture or the nature of the industries where they work are the seasonal nature. So, they are, even if they are employed, their wages are very meager, their income is not a very assured income. So, how to provide them the income and employment security is the another major issue of concern. Then there is social security. Nowadays a lot of things are talked about the social security, because employment is not safe, income is not safe, they are not given any medical facilities, health has become also a serious issue. Under these circumstances, if one is not getting employment, which is a very usual in their day to day life, if their income is not adequate to maintain even to fulfill even the minimum needs, then a state support in the form of social security is needed. How to provide social security to such a large segment of workforce is another serious issue of concern, which needs the attention of the policy makers. Then another issue is workplace related issues. You might have seen in the urban areas particularly that such unorganized workers, if come in the city, if they are the rickshaw pullers, then they have to pay a heavy rent to their owners, because they cannot buy the rickshaw. If work as vendors or some sort of job, then municipality people come and they beat them like anything, they even take bribes from them. So, how to, they do not have any workplace. So, how to provide them a safe place where they can run their own any occupation or any economic activity. This is also a serious issue of concern of the unorganized workers. Then in the technological advancement day, today people who are very illiterate, they need to be made literate. Those who are very literate, they need to be educated. If they are educated, they need to be trained, skilled, because computer has come, various other work techniques have come. Unless they know those things, it will be difficult for them to survive, to get the employment. So, to educate them, to train them is another issue of concern. I think time is running very fast. I would like to summarize within a minute that in today's discussion we have explained you what is organized sector, what is unorganized sector, what is unorganized sector labor, what is unorganized sector labor, what are the various categories of the unorganized sector labor, what are the peculiar features of organized labor versus unorganized labor, and what are the implications of the economic reforms on labor, and then what are the serious issues and concerns for particularly unorganized sector. I have explained all these issues in brief. We will again come before you for discussing all these issues in detail. I think today's we will conclude this session with the hope that in future we will discuss these issues in greater detail.